Yes.
But before we go any further, Julie Sladden, I had the great pleasure of spending the weekend with you and the ASF crew at the event in Melbourne. It was just amazing. Some great people were there. We had a wonderful time, and we were hoping and praying that we'd start to see some good news. And Gigi Foster and the crew working with you and others to formulate solutions going forward. It was truly a great weekend.
Definitely was. It was great to see you there, Hoodie, and there were so many brilliant minds and grassroots people and just people who have been oh putting their shoulder to the wheel over the last few years, and we had a fun weekend. We got some good things done, some great ideas that came out of it to take forward. We're not just about complaining about the issues at hand. We're actually ASF is all about what are we going to do about it, and not just from a big level. It's also individual, community, and organizational. So that's what I love about it. There's something for everyone.
Absolutely. And to think that that's culminated in today for you, it's really capped off an amazing week for you. So give us a rundown on what happened in council today. How did it all go?
Well, firstly, I just want to say thank you, Adrian, for being the leader in this and for being the first person. I get to be the first follower by the sound of it, but you actually provided the benchmark in which I tried to get, and that's probably the hardest one to do. So as first follower, I feel very privileged. And yeah, so today I publicized this last week that I was going to be bringing a motion to council, and that council meeting was held today. I had actually advocated for a special meeting, but my councillor colleagues, we decided against that as a council. So that, let's just say, I'm one of nine, so I really do only, represent. I have a voice of one of nine. And so we brought it to council in a regular council meeting, and I got to say, the support from the community was absolutely astounding. But firstly, the motion that I brought to council was slightly different to Adrian's, and we did amend it during the proceedings today. But it was all about having a really good debate around the table. And I was speaking with somebody afterwards about, I said that really was democracy in action, where you had quite a good debate, various views put around the table, and then an amendment was put forward that at least five of us could agree on, and that's what got it across the line. So the motion got through 5-4 after quite, like I said, a vigorous and intense period of debate. And for those who are interested, you can actually see the motion in its entirety on the West Tamar Council website. It's wtc.tas.gov.au, and look under council meetings and agenda. And the things that we got through were to receive the exhibits and findings as per the attachments. So, and I had the exhibit one, the report by Dr. David Speaker, and Russell Broadbent's letters on the 20th of September, 25th of September, and the 29th of October. So councillors, they say that they've received those. And in light of the information, they resolved to recognise the matter as a public advocacy issue with potential public health implications, advocate on this potential public health issue to ensure community welfare and trust, reaffirm our commitments to transparency, public confidence, and accountability within our public health institutions, and receive 6 monthly briefings on developments related to reported DNA contamination in COVID-19 mRNA vaccines from the state government and the TGA. This should first be sought in the new year at West Ham Council to maintain an awareness of the emerging issues. Now, I had a number of points below that, and that was part of the amendment where those were taken out. They just weren't palatable to the other councillors, and there were some letters as well to the Prime Minister, the Tasmanian Premier, the TGA, and also to the local health practitioners. But So that was part of, I guess, the compromise that was made. But that said, this is really sends a strong message that the council is now aware of this issue and are prepared to advocate for the community on that. And by advocate too, we had, I don't know, I'm sure somebody's counted over 100 people in the gallery. It was packed. And at one point, somebody asked for the doors to be closed and they couldn't close them because people were leaking out into the corridor. There simply wasn't enough room. And I got to say, I'd sort of had a dream about this that it might be like that. And it literally was. And I just couldn't believe it when I saw it for real. The gallery was packed and the people were very respectful, passionate. I was very pleased that nobody got ejected for their passion, especially when there were, obviously people were putting both sides of their opinions of the council, but at all times, they were respectful of that. So I'm grateful. So big day.
Just excuse me if I look away from home. There's so much going on at the moment. I'm getting these messages, and I'm trying to keep up with it all. Yeah, just incredible stuff. So, Adrian, you must be really pleased, of course.
Look, it's a wonderful day, and it really shows that we're being on the northwest coast of Australia, and now we're getting the same or very similar motions passed on the southeast, the furthermost southeast part of Australia in Tasmania. We've got obviously this idea is not as our Premier in WA said, we've gone off the rails, and this is none of our business, and it's so reassuring. I think to the communities across Australia to see that what people can do when they get together and push from the bottom up rather than expect change to come from the top down. So it's really given such a great view and a great perspective on where change really needs to come from, and it's from us here at the grassroots level. It doesn't happen. These people at the top, they've really got to be pushed hard to get them to do anything for us, and we've really got to take the matters into our own hands. And hearing such a big turnout in Julie's council meeting today over there in West Tamar, it's just really refreshing. It just shows, when we had a big gallery, probably 50 or 60 people in Port Hedland, which is a huge turnout in our gallery. It only holds about 30 or 40, so it's standing room only in Port Hedland as well. So it's refreshing, when you see, because I assume, I don't know what it's like in West Tamar in Tassie, but certainly in Port Hedland, it's very unusual to see a gallery full of people, and when they come out, it's a really good, it's a really great feeling to know that what we're doing at the council level is supported at the grassroots level, and seeing that people show up in numbers like they have, I'm sure that would have had some bearing on the outcome of today's vote in Tassie. So this is today, congratulations, Julie. It's amazing what you've put through. I wish we had. We've got a nurse on our council, but having a doctor on your council must add some serious weight to the argument. No one can really. Anyone that votes against you as a doctor is look. I don't want to criticise them. They probably had their own reasons to go against, but when you've got a doctor of your integrity, Julie, on the council, it's certainly such a. It adds so much weight to it, and look, it's just it's really overwhelming for us over here. I've told the other councillors in Hedland what's happened today, and they're all just like they really feel of course that with having the government sort of crack down on us up here, and it's really kind of shown that this is not just a Port Hedland issue. This is a West Tamar issue, and this is like I said, on one side of the country, the northwest down to the southeast. This is really going to spark something. We just need to fill in the gaps now. If we can get all the councils across between us, we will really start something, not just here in Australia but globally. So exciting day, and thank you again, Julie. It's just amazing what you've achieved.
Well, thank you for setting the example.
No, not at all.
Johnny, what's your take on the day, mate?
Well, I think it's a massive day, Hoodie, but we still have to be prepared to keep going. I mean, we know that the TGA have essentially labelled the very information that we're bringing to the public's awareness as misinformation. They've said that the information on there is misinformation, that this fluorometry is a lot of garbage, and the efforts of people like David Speaker are not valid, that the control measures that were in place were not to standard, and all sorts of stuff that they're trying to throw everyone off the scent. So, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? It's a good. We've got to take these wins when we get them, but it just demonstrates that it's still not over. We have to keep pressing on, because these mongrels will do anything to maintain their hold on all this.
Yeah.
I mean, it must be really upsetting for you, Adrian. Having brought all this to the attention of the public, this DNA contamination, the TGA. I mean, they won't even put their hands in the air and say, "Look, we'll have a look at it." They just immediately label it misinformation.
Look,
I've got to say, sorry, after you. You go first.
Sorry, Julie. Yeah, look, and I just wanted to really emphasise that I didn't sort of, talking about the grassroots and the 57,000 that I forgot to mention, of people signing signatures and people saying petitions don't pack punch in the lower house or the upper house.
Yes. Now, Julie, you would have come up against some vehement opposition amongst some of the other councillors. It got up 5-4. Tell us something about the opposition. How did you feel about their arguments, and is there anything you wanted to clarify from what they said?
Oh, I've been dying for you to ask me that question, Hoodie. Thank
really?
you. I really have. And just tying into what Adrian was just saying about the significance of the misinformation, disinformation bill in all this, one of the most passionate, I guess, arguments against my motion basically implied that, we were peddling misinformation. And I got to say, I was really disappointed when I heard the term used, because I thought, it's actually quite a triggering term to use. And I think we need to talk about truth and facts, and what's clear and what's not clear, rather than just using blanket coverall misinformation, disinformation, whatever. So one of the scientists, because I'd actually had the opportunity to brief the councillors on an earlier occasion about the Port Hedland motion and the information with regards to that, and also had sort of provided testimonies from other scientists around the world, including one from Philip Buchholz when he testified in front of the South Carolina Senate. And his testimony was very, very powerful. And I don't know whether you gentlemen have watched it or not, but he calls himself a gene jock, and he's a professor of molecular genetics or something like that. I mean, this is his jam, sequencing things. And he, from what I can remember of his original ex post, he set out to prove Kevin McKernan's work wrong, and actually found out that it was true. So he's very surprised and also alarmed when that happened, he was alarmed enough to actually present his findings in front of the South Carolina Senate. Now, my understanding, there was a lot of backlash about that. And as anyone knows, I'm just speculating here, just like to be clear about that, but anyone knows any university position is, often funded by various entities, sometimes even pharmaceutical entities, but let's pass over that. And very soon after that went to air on YouTube. It was actually taken down. And also there was a lot of, I think, response to his testimony, because he's very well respected in his field. And I think from just looking from the outside in, he was feeling a little bit uncomfortable about the alarm that was raised, and said, look, essentially the DNA was there, but it's just a probability of, a possibility of integration, and we don't really know what it means. So he walked back some of his comments, but he never denied that the DNA contamination was here, and so he didn't withdraw his comments. And that was one of the things that was actually thrown back during the debate at me, and that one of the scientific testimonies that I'd put forward as evidence was actually, attempted to be, I guess, well, I hate the word debunked in the actual of that. And then that the argument was that, well, therefore everything that you're saying is untrue. That doesn't actually take into account of, the further testimonies by McKernan and Koenig and I know Sin Lee's produced some good work, and Speaker and all the other Angus Dalgleish and Claire Craig and all the other 52 signatories to the letters. Are we all peddling misinformation? So I was kind of a little bit surprised and also disappointed at the way that argument was put, but also the TGA themselves, they weren't even aware of that there was a problem. They didn't even start looking for it until October 2023, which was after Kevin McKernan had raised it as a problem, and we started raising it and writing to the TGA. They didn't even look for the SV40 promoter enhancer until October 2023. After it was brought to their attention, because Pfizer didn't tell them about it. Now, I don't know, that sounds a bit dodgy to me. And not only that, as I'm sure you gentlemen are well aware, all of the many of the TGA documents that we request come back redacted, including the batch assessment report. So if there's nothing to see here, if there's no truth in any of what we're saying, great. Let's unredact all the report. That's really all we're asking for. We're just asking for answers to our questions. Science is an evolving thing. And as a scientist, you actually have to change your mind and opinion over time. Heck, I've had my mind changed, on more than one occasion. And you've got to be humble enough to do that. All the way along this, I've been saying, essentially, prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong, because I'm worried, and that was the message that I was trying to send, I guess, to the council, in that there are all these reputable people, scientists around the world, who have not been able to get this information out by normal channels because it seems to be being censored. But we have enough evidence now to say there's reason to be concerned, and we need to be asking questions. And I don't actually think anyone should have a problem with that. And that was the basis of my motion.
I'd like to sum up for everybody watching, whether you agree with us or not. The basic question for me is pretty simple. I want to ask those of you watching, if you thought there was a chance that someone was tampering with your immune system or your DNA, would you like to know about it? Because there is evidence that may be going on. In fact, we believe that there's evidence it is going on. So all we want to do is find out whether it's true or not. So we just want to see this brought out. We're sick and tired of all this censorship. We have said all the way along that we would dearly love to be wrong on this issue. We want to be wrong, because if we're right, the consequences are horrendous. Now, if we're facing horrendous consequences, we need as a nation to fess up that we screwed up and then start looking at solutions collectively, bringing everyone together to the table from both sides. I was talking to David Speaker from Canada this afternoon. He's itching to come out here and present his findings to the government. He'll come out here. He's willing to come out. And these are people who are prepared to put their money where their mouth is. And they need to be brought to the table for good, proper solution management, problem-solving models, and get this stuff sorted, because Australians are dying. Australians are dying. And Julie, sadly, today, you were supported by Dr. Andrew Corbett, who is a wonderful church pastor from Tasmania, who was leading a very large congregation down there. Now, he came onto our program, John, a couple of years ago and apologised. He came on to talk about how he apologised to his congregation because he was strongly affirming the need to be vaccinated, and he realised that he'd done the wrong thing, and he apologised to them. And Julie, I know you're upset about this because you're very close to Andrew. But Dr. Andrew Corbett presented medical evidence in his hand today and spoke at the West Tamar Council because, sadly, he is vaccine injured, and his doctors have acknowledged that, and they've given him 2 years to live, and he's been told to get his house in order. Now, there is too much of this going on. Brad Hill from the Kelly Hotel in Singleton every day is sending me at least 2 text messages of his patrons who have dropped dead. Adrian McRae, you talked about the funeral directors in Port Hedland, 7 times the number of, you constructed a cold body storage facility for them because they can't handle it. So if you think we're all crazy, if you think it's all misinformation, then let's get it all together and let's work out what's truth and what isn't. And then let's get on with restoring this country.
Well, and I think what's crazy too, Woody, I mean, let's highlight what Gerard Rennick's also exposed today in Senate estimates. I think this is very significant. The TGA were made aware of a 52-year-old gentleman who died of a heart attack in front of his 16-year-old son and his wife. Tragic circumstances. And that was covered up by the TGA. He died within 7 days of the Pfizer vaccine. Now, it was never recorded as a death, despite the fact that the forensic pathologist advised them that the death was from the Pfizer vaccine as a result of myocarditis. Now, they are ignoring it. Now, I encourage everyone to watch Gerard's post on this, because I tell you, I was quite stunned too to learn that my cousin was one of the lead people in the TGA answering Gerard's questions. So you can see this thing's not too far from your doorstep at every angle. Families have been ripped apart by all this madness. I mean, one side of our family thinks we're completely nuts, but we're not. I mean, and they're in the system. They're in the system denying these deaths are occurring. And how do you do that? I mean, how does the TGA get away with this? They never contacted anyone. They never contacted the family. And then they're saying that there's nothing to see here. I mean, it's just beyond belief.
And they continue to push it. And I love the remarks of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the States a few days ago, where he said he was urging the FDA and the CDC in America to make sure they weren't disposing of any evidence, and to pack their bags because they're fired when he gets in. I mean, that sort of rhetoric really builds our spirits, because we haven't heard much of it on our side. But we've still got to be sensible about this whole thing. I mean, we've seen Trump get in. That's led to RFK Jr. taking on the role. As a result of that, Asim Malhotra looks like he's been tapped on the shoulder to participate in that. We put in a call to Asim today to see if he would join us on the program to discuss his views on that. Then we're seeing all these other issues. We also had Russell Broadbent yesterday deliver an amazing speech in the House of Representatives in Canberra, backing all this stuff up again, once again speaking to the motion made at Port Hedland and the findings of Dr. David Speaker. And we've had what's happened in the West Tamar Council with Julie Sladden today. And also, John Ruddock, the Libertarian member for the lower house in
Upper house in New
the
South
upper
Wales.
house, sorry, in New South Wales. He delivered an impassioned powerhouse speech, and it's not over there yet either, John. Give us a brief on that.
Yeah, look, John's essentially called out the bureaucracy within New South Wales. He's called for the disbanding of the Healthcare Complaints Commission, the Healthcare Practitioners Authority, and all these bodies that are created in the bureaucracy to control everything. Just get rid of them, he says. He went on to call out the COVID fraud that we've witnessed, the overreach, and demanded that everyone be returned to their jobs, be compensated, and that Kerry Chant be sacked, and Dr. Kerry Chant. And I think he'll be speaking for about 30 minutes tomorrow in Parliament on this with his motions. They're pretty wide-ranging, and they're very sensible. And it was very, very impassioned, wasn't it, Hoodie? It was a magnificent speech. It'll go down in history as one of the better ones we've witnessed from a politician during this COVID madness. But
I agree, mate, and I really appreciated that he mentioned you and Justin Poor and Natalie Pasalo as 3 frontline workers. He singled you out to be reinstated immediately, and believe me, when that happens, when that day comes, John, I'm going to sit back and think, where to from here? I might get the rod out and put the boat in the water, because that's what it means to me to see you guys get your jobs back. But the other thing that was really interesting about all of that is that at all time it was very coincident with the fact that I had a long chat with Justin Poore today, New South Wales police officer. I've never heard a more passionate police officer in my life. This guy lives and breathes to do police work with integrity, and an amazing guy, and he's been struggling. He's raising 5 kids. He gave up his football career to be a copper. He was a really, really good copper, and he's itching to go back and serve the community. And Karen Webb needs to get her act in order and perhaps join forces with Kerry Chant in getting the desk packed and getting out of there, because these people, Roland Crystal, Natalie Pasalo, all those people in the police force need to be back at work.
Yeah, look, I don't know what you say other than that, Hoodie. It's just mad, really. Everyone's a victim at some point in this, and that's very, very sad. There's a lot of bureaucrats and there's a lot of politicians, that not the ones we speak with on a regular basis, that are detached from all of this. They I don't know how they live with themselves, some of these people. They must be on a different planet. But I mean, this is going on in aviation, as we know. It's going on in restaurants, in hospitality, in councils. It's going on everywhere. I mean, this madness is still going on. I mean, I still see that there's a requirement from New South Wales Health. They drop all this garbage on the front line for intensive care nurses and doctors and everyone else. But if you're a student, you've still got to be vaccinated. I mean, you can't work any of this nonsense out. It's just complete craziness. And I'm still getting word from numerous university students that are having to be vaccinated to comply with the requirements of their university degree. So, I mean, we're still got a long way to climb this hill, unfortunately.
So, Johnny Larder, when are we likely to see a similar move happening in Snowy Valley Council?
Well, look, Snowy Valley's council has already got a motion on the books for a Royal Commission. That was voted 8-1, and that went to Albanese well over 12 months ago, that he hold a Royal Commission, and we got the usual garbage back saying, oh, we're going to hold an inquiry and yeah, blah blah blah, usual nonsense. So we'll just I'll put forward another one. I'm just waiting with interest to see what happens at these other councils, because I think it's good to have the momentum as well. So if we get a bit of success in November and there's a few more councils put this stuff forward, on the back of Adrian and Julie's great work in December and January, then it'll just keep that momentum flowing. So, I mean, it's really, really good timing, I think, with the federal election coming up. I think that they'll be under a lot more pressure to actually act on some of this stuff now, because they'll realise that it's the grassroots that are really upset about this. I mean, people don't generally. I mean, Julie works for Russell. I mean, people don't generally pick up the phone and start complaining en masse about issues. I mean, you might get the odd person will ring up and complain, but I mean, generally, I mean, you're not going to get thousands and thousands of phone calls or petitions. So, I mean, it tells you the level of interest in this stuff, and you've only got to see when people like Ben Fordham raise this on their programs. It goes nuts. There's so much comment and interest because it's the story of the day, and people are living it and breathing it every day of the week, and they want it resolved.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's more action on the horizon as well, with so many other things going on now. Adrian McRae, you woke up the other morning, you sent me a text message in the middle of the night or something about an event that you must have dreamt about the other night, which is actually happening in Perth, which is called the Great Debate. And mate, you've really amassed a lineup of speakers. I mean, everyone from Gigi Foster through to Malcolm Roberts. Give us a rundown on this event and tell me all about it. Tell us what's going on. Let's get it promoted.
Look, it's There is going to be an event in Perth called the Great Debate. It's very short notice. Obviously, there's still a lot of energy around the Port Hedland motion, and now, of course, the West Tamar motions that have gotten up. Karratha up here in the Pilbara, our nearest town, and they're sort of a lot bigger than Hedland, but they're just up the road from us. And the City of Karratha held a council meeting last night, and they were doing a very similar thing, calling for a royal commission into the entire COVID response. It wasn't. It was postponed. It was sort of probably too big an issue for them right now. They're postponing it until, I think, the first or the second week of December. So that's going to be I think they're going to, I'm hoping that they're going to get support for that, especially seeing now these other councils like West Tamar that have jumped on board and doing great stuff over there. So I think it's going to give more and more councils the confidence to see that it's not just Port Hedland that's off the rails, that West Tamar is also off the rails. But I'm saying that sarcastically, obviously, but while this energy is in the room, there's a lot of people. There's a real groundswell of people across WA in particular that I see, because obviously that's where I am and that's where I have the most hands-on involvement. I'm getting calls from councillors and members of the community all across Australia. But in WA, where I be a little bit more connection and maybe a small bit of influence, we decided to. We're seeing all these people go to council and not really sure how to attack this and how to bring it to their own councils. And so I decided to, not just I decided, but a group of us decided to put a great lineup of people together that have really been behind this from the very beginning. Now, the key players in this entire movement, the likes of Julie Sladden, who's been working so hard on this for a number of years on different legal angles to challenge the government at the federal courts and in the high courts and even in the state supreme courts. And we've got obviously Katie Ashby-Coppins, who's been working on so many of these cases alongside of Julian and helping so many of the senators writing letters. And these two have been so instrumental. But then you get investigative journalists and researchers like Rebecca Barnett, who have just put so many thousands of hours into researching with the most finesse and most accurate detail. If you know Rebecca like I do, she is one of the most amazing journalists. She does not put a word out of place, and she will not put anything in writing unless it's absolutely quoted. It's absolutely backed up by by verified science and by some of the best scientists on earth. So I thought if I can get these three in a room, and then of course getting Russell Broadbent, of course, who was the original one that sent the letters to the Prime Minister that the Port Hedland motion was even based on. Getting our motions in Hedland were based on the fact that the Honourable Russell Broadbent couldn't get a single response out of the Prime Minister. It just seemed to me that he was sort of a lone ranger in Parliament there, not getting the responses he needed. So I thought if I could bring him in as well, and then I thought if he's coming, then of course imagine getting the likes of Professor Ian Brightope, who's been an advisor to many ministers, federal ministers of health over the last decades. One of the most upstanding, and you won't find a health professional or a doctor or scientist or professor anywhere in the world with more integrity than Professor Brightope, and I've been a huge fan of his for almost 20 years now. So to get all these guys in the room, and also of course Malcolm Roberts, who's doing amazing work in the Senate, and he's a wealth of information in this space, and fortunate to having to have the opportunity to meet all these guys, and then of course it was being able to bring you, Hoody, over to MC it. So it's getting all these guys in the room at the same time and really tell the story of where this whole thing started and where the science came from and where where Russell's letters came from, and then of course the TGA's response, and then Rebecca Barnett, her work to shoot that down, and of course the strategy and the legal minds and all the letters that have been written by Julie and Katie Ashby-Coppins in the background to bring all this together and fill a room full of people, and also stream this across Australia and the world to see how we got to where we are, but how to move forward. So this event is really it's aimed at community, it's aimed at grassroots, it's aimed at councillors and people, obviously communities that have been approaching their councils, to give them a clear path of which way forward, how to approach their councils, and how to do what we've done in West Tamar, and how to do what we've done in Port Hedland to really stir this up, because obviously we insulted the Premier by daring to ask such a question in Port Hedland back in October 11. And now we see other councils around Australia, literally on the other side of the continent, asking the same questions that we're asking. It shows that we are just, this is everywhere. We've only had 2 councils in Australia had these motions go to the council, and we've won both of them, 2 out of 2. So this is not, it's not like we are one. This has been one motion and we've lost 100. We've had 2 of these motions go to council, and we've now won both. So far we're on 100% record. Of course, it won't stay 100% record, but there's a very good chance that the record is going to stay in our favour now, because people are going to have the confidence. They're going to see that more than just Port Hedland. Of course, people look at Port Hedland as a working class industrial town. What these guys know about vaccines, and now we've got the likes of West Tamar, where an absolute legend champion of a doctor in Julie Sladden has put the motion forward. And this is a doctor putting the motion forward. This isn't a construction worker like me that should know nothing about what we're talking about here in the whole scientific field. This is a trained doctor that's had years and years of experience, that understands the science and understands what she's talking about. So this is really today's motion is it's changed the whole energy. It's given the whole movement in Australia a real shot in the arm. And I think leading into our event next week in Perth, I think we're going to see a huge crowd in Perth. It's going to be the energy around it on social media. We've got people catching. There are people hiring buses from New South Wales. There are people flying across from Melbourne to this event. It's just there's going to be a lot of energy around it. Certainly, I feel Roger Cook is going to be under some serious pressure as we get closer to this event, because this is going to build some serious media, some serious energy and hype around it. They're already talking about it on Talkback Radio. We've obviously it's gone through the council up here in Hedland. There's some councils that aren't happy that this event's going on. There are other councils that are coming down from Port Hedland to be there to see because of course for this whole, the people that haven't been involved in this movement since the beginning, sort of unlike myself, they're just learning about this stuff, and they come to Perth and they see thousands of people in the one roof cheering and hearing the real story about how we got to where we are. This is really eye-opening for them. So I'm really proud to be involved in it and to see what the group and the team are putting together. We've got some wonderful people on from the WA Freedom Movement really stepping up to. They're doing leaflet drops, and they're doing so much behind the scenes to make sure this event is sort of one of its first of its kind in Australia. And I think it'll be I think there's going to be more of these happening all around the country. And I always said at the beginning, it wasn't a matter of if people would wake up to this. It's just a matter of when. And I just feel that we're in a moment in time now that people are really starting to ask questions. There's too much illness. There's too many people dying suddenly. I had one of my very closest friends died over the weekend, just dropped suddenly, dropped dead, 50 years of age, young family. It's just, it's too many people. It's too hard to ignore now. And this is really personal for me. It's really personal for, I think everyone involved. We've either been, sort of shunned aside by the community through the craziness of COVID. People starting to realise the stupidity of what we've just been through, and people want answers. And certainly, it's not good news, as Julie mentioned earlier. We crave to be wrong on what we're talking about here, but unfortunately, as more and more scientists are coming out, even we didn't mention on this call earlier, but even the famed, esteemed scientist from France, Didier Raoult, who's just come out in the last couple of days, and he's verified. He was sort of hoping to disprove this as well, and probably the greatest molecular biologist / virologist in France has just come out, and even he's now saying it. I was talking to Jessica Rose about this the other day, and she's saying he's the guru. There's no one greater in US and North America. They all kind of, he is the peer of peers, Didier Raoult, and now he's come out and said he's frightened because he's finding the exact same thing. He's using the same testing methodologies as Dr. David Speaker and Kevin McKernan and Philip Buchholz and Koenig. He's now finding the exact same results. So he's now pushed out saying, please, we need to stop this. So when the likes of the caliber of people that are speaking out against this, it's really so important that we keep pushing. And I just think the Perth event that we're having on Friday 29th in Riverside Theatre, the biggest theatre in Perth, I think the energy around this is really going to, I'm stoked that Tasmania's taken the shine off us today, but I think next week Western Australia will take it back, and I'd like to make a bit of competition out of this and really, watch what the other states can do to try and to drive the energy like we are certainly driving here in Western Australia. So, yeah, look, it's really exciting what's happening in Perth next week, and honoured to have everyone's support, and certainly having you, having the luck to have you come over, Hoodie, to MC it for us.
Oh, look, it's a real honour, and I'm blown away. It's all happening in a hurry, and apparently there's been an event organised where you and I will be out at Topolini's restaurant in Perth on Thursday night. Before the event next Friday, the event is next Friday night at the convention centre, 2,500 seat venue. And the ticket prices are very, very reasonable, and it's got to be a costly venue. $29 a seat, I believe, Adrian.
Yeah, look, it's only $29, so even if we fill it, we're not going to cover our cost. But right now, this is far bigger than any individual or any sort of sponsor. This is about getting the truth, and you can't put a value on truth and people's health. So it's really important that we've got a great team pushing it, and the more support we can get, locally, internationally, and I guess across Australia as well. We really need to make sure we get a lot of bums on seats, and certainly at this stage, there's a lot of interest in this event, and really looking forward to seeing how many people we can get in there. But yeah, $29 is the standard admission price. There are I think there's about 100 VIP tickets for backstage prior to the event to have drinks and canapes with all the speakers. That's just an earlier thing, but those tickets will sell very quickly. We know that, but certainly the entire venue is sort of been set at a price that hopefully we don't lose any more than about $10,000 or $20,000. So look, it's even if we do sell out, we can't possibly make our money back. But we've just sort of set the price in the minimum ticket pricing standard for Ticketek, which is in that up to the $29 range. So we just put it at $29, and hoping that people, if people can't afford it. I've even said a lot of people on Facebook said they're out of a job, they haven't been able to work for a couple of years. So I just said, look, if you're in a situation you can't afford it, contact me directly, and I'll just give you a ticket for free. So it's it's really important that we get people there, because this information is far too vital to be held away from people just on the basis of a cost or a small loss in dollars.
Now, Adrian, you have sent a letter of invitation to Roger Cook, the WA Premier.
Yeah, look, I didn't send a letter. That was sent by the esteemed Professor Ian Brighthope. So he did write a beautiful letter to the Premier and to the WA Health Minister, inviting them along to hear their side of the story, and hopefully that letter is taken seriously, and maybe they can send someone to give us their side of the story. Look, it's my good friend Steve Kirsch in the US has had millions of dollars up for grabs for anyone that will debate him and RFK. No one's come forward. There's certainly been Fauci. These guys have all been offered millions of dollars to come and have a debate on this subject. But look, I don't know that they would. We would love for them to come. We would love to hear their side of the story. We would love them to bring their sides and tell us and show us how and why we're wrong. I genuinely can't see it happening, because it's at this stage, the TGA science that the TGA has been using all this time, we know is through the Freedom of Information request that Rebecca Barnett was able to squeeze out of them, that they're using an outdated methodology, the qPCR, which Moderna's own patent says you cannot use the qPCR to measure DNA contamination in mRNA solution. So it's unless they've suddenly got some new science that they can bring out, then unfortunately they're not going to be able to come and debate us, because they really do have nothing. But certainly, we'd love to hear their perspective. We'd love to. He'll certainly be given he won't be hostile. He'll be welcome to join us, and certainly, there'll be a respectable crowd there that would love to hear what they have to say. But I don't think the health minister or the premier would. Ideally, we'd love them there, but I don't think they'll take Professor Brighthope up on his invitation.
Well, we'll have a seat on the stage for them anyway, I'm sure, Adrian. Now, Johnny, straight after that event on the Friday night, I'm flying across to Adelaide, and you're flying from home to Adelaide as well, and we're meeting up for a wonderful event in Adelaide at the National Free Media Summit 2.0, which is held at the Norwood Concert Hall in Adelaide, starting Sunday the 1st of December from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's a great event. There's going to be stalls and everything there, some light entertainment as well. I'm sure you and I will provide a bit of light entertainment, Johnny. And we're really looking forward to seeing all the people from the Flag on the Hill group over there and many others who attend. It's a great event. Speakers, you, John, myself, Kurt Malberg, Katie Ashby-Coppins, and Rebecca Barnett. Another great lineup. Oh, boy, I'm breathless just talking about it all. It's just unbelievable.
You need to go fishing after this, Hoodie.
I desperately need to go fishing after this. I need to take Johnny Larder to teach him how to catch a flathead because his son Luke tells me he's not very good at it.
Luke or me?
Anyway, look, we better end this and get this out. A lot of people are really keen to get this. Is a good news event. And we want to get it out there. So, as always, I'd like to close with a prayer before we finish up. Lord Father in heaven, we thank you for the light of truth, and we thank you, Father God, that if we continue to stand in that light and hold the line and ask questions and act respectably and respectfully and act with compassion, then your truth always wins out in the end. It always shines. And we can see that starting to bear fruit now. So we thank you for all the events that are being planned, for the wonderful, courageous people who've been stepping out for so long. And we pray that you'll be with all those who are really struggling at the moment. They just want to see an end to this so we can rebuild this beautiful country. It's a great country, Father, and we need your help to rebuild it. We ask for this in Jesus' name. Amen. Oh, Lord, please be with Dr. Andrew Corbett, Father God. We just pray that you would lay your healing hands upon him in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Johnny Larder, you've often been heard to say.
Just couldn't make this stuff up.
You couldn't make this stuff up. Stay out of the trees, everyone. Don't forget, if you love somebody and you haven't told them, it's time you rang them and told them. They might just need to hear it. Dr. Julie Sladden, the last 3.5 years have been really polished off nicely by knowing you and working with you. John and I have interviewed you several times. We've met you on stage. You're a real champion. You've never given up, and we just love you to bits, and we thank you so much.
Feelings quite mutual, guys, and great to have you on the team too, Adrian. Looking forward to meeting you in person one day.
Did you forget meeting me in Canberra?
Oh, yeah.
No, that's okay.
Point.
The
Had a
damage
moment.
is done. The damage is done.
He didn't look
So-
like that.
That's
He
so
didn't-
memorable.
I even bought you dinner. My God. The high
Sure
vis, eh? The
about
high vis
that?
puts you off. The high vis puts you off.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We can debate
Okay.
that later.
Big Slugger, what can I say? My nickname for Adrian McRae is Slugger, because he's always out there throwing a punch. Adrian, always great, mate. You're just such a powerhouse behind all of this stuff. You try and keep a low profile, but I've got to warn you, your profile is not going to be kept under a bucket for too long, my friend.
Look, it'll go back under the bucket soon, mate. We'll get these. We'll get a few more of these councils to wake up for us, and then I can go back and hide back under my rock. But we've got a few more battles we need to win just yet, so we'll stick at it.
Oh, what do you like with a cable stitch, by the way? How's your knitting?
My knitting is look, I was just practicing my knitting while we're talking here, but it just keeps falling to bits. I'm not. I haven't quite got it down pat yet, but Roger Cook's going to give me a lesson apparently on the next Friday at the Great Debate.
Well, we look forward to that. So look forward to seeing you all at the Great Debate and also at the Media Freedom event in Adelaide on the 1st of December. It'd be great to see you there, Johnny, to catch up in person again. And from all of us at Club Grubbery, God bless you all. Don't forget, this is a great country and we're not done with it yet. Stay in the fight, and we'll see you around the ridges. Bye for now.